The first BDP Youth Congress organized in Ahmed. 1,000 delegates and young people participated to Congress from North, South, East and West Kurdistan. In Congress, we witnessed also the participation of many guests, young people from abroad, namely Europe and South America. Kurdish leader Abdullah Öcalan sent a message and underlined the importance of the youth activities at the struggle. "We started young, young people will win," said the Kurdish leader amid slogan and cheers. The message was read by People's Democratic Party deputy Sırrı Süreyya Önder.
Üstün başarılar diliyor ve devrimci selamlarımı gönderiyorum. Abdullah Öcalan İmralı Cezayir.
The Congress highlighted the importance of Abdullah Öcalan in the peace process and that his freedom is required if the process is to be brought to a successful conclusion. At the Congress, the FARC EP sent a video message to salute the Congress. Co-chair of Democratical Society Congress, Aysel Tuğluk, reminded to young delegates of the work ahead. As Mr. Öcalan said in his Nevruz 2013 message, the road towards peace will not be easy nor quick. We need to more working, struggling. We are on it. You young people are on it, she said.
Kurdistan Communities Union KCK Political Committee has released a statement about the local elections to take place in Turkey in March 2014. KCK Political Committee put emphasis on the importance of election for the resolution of the Kurdish question and Turkey's democratization. KCK Political Committee put emphasis on the importance of election for the resolution of the Kurdish question and Turkey's democratization. KCK Political Committee commented that the election as an important test for all democratic, left-wing and socialist peoples and everyone who want democracy, peace and freedom. KCK also remarked that attention to the importance of 2014's local elections for the Kurdistan territory. KCK said the Kurdish people should focus on achieving a great success in the elections and stressed that the realization of the democracy, freedom and democratic autonomy proposals depended on the results of this election. KCK said all Kurdish people, as well as all ethnic and religious groups, intellectuals, workers, women and youth, should therefore work on elections with determination and from a perspective of free Kurdistan. KCK wished success to all candidates for nomination in Kurdistan and added that we have no doubt that the DTK Democratic Society Congress, BDP Peace and Democracy Party, components of the North Kurdistan Conference and all other institutions, organizations will perform their historic responsibilities. KCK called on all candidates to run in the elections to unite around democracy and freedom and to strengthen the spirit of unity and togetherness.
Rojava People's Assembly and Syrian Kurdish National Assembly made a meeting in Kamishlu. Rojava's Democratic Society movement, Tevdem, was also joined to meeting. After this meeting, they declared that all two sides agreed about the activation of Kurdish Supreme Council. Tevdem Diplomacy Committee's member Dr. Abdülkerim Omer spoke out to the press. Dr. Omer said that we discussed about creating only one Kurdish delegation to join Geneva II, and for that we decided to set up a commission. Omer also said that we decided to activate in Kurdish Supreme Council. Additionally, he said that Kurdish Supreme Council can take important tasks in order to build up interim administration inside the Constitutive General Council. Interim administration can work as a prototype model for democratic Syria. After that meeting yesterday, the Constitutive General Council for Interim Administration second time came together around a table in Kamishlu. And they decided many new decisions in this summit. Here is selected some important decisions and key details. Name of the Constitutive General Council for Interim Administration changed to the Democratic Autonomy Administration. Interim administration will build in 3 autonomous regions, Afrin, Kobane and Cizre. Every region will autonomously organize and establish their own autonomous administration. Name of Interim Administration's General Assembly changed to the Lawmaker and Monitoring Council. Monitoring Council will be a decision center. Name of Monitoring Committee of Interim Administration Project changed to Preparing and Monitoring Council of Interim Administration Project.
Journalist Mutlu Çiviroğlu from Voice of America evaluated the recent developments in Rojava and Syria. Çiviroğlu spoke to our TV and answered how American press see and analyze the recent situation in Rojava and Syria.
The American media recently has been covering a lot about the situation in Syria generally and Rojava especially, and the tone of the language is usually very positive. The YPG fight against the radical Islamists are mentioned very loudly, outspokenly in American media, and usually they're using a positive tone that Kurds are they are winning victories against these jihadist groups. And there are some commentaries by known people asking U.S. government to recognize the Kurds in Syrian Kurdistan, to provide them support. So I can tell you that in recent weeks there is an increasing number of reports and comments about Kurds in Rojava, and they are usually very positive. And among the people too, people are starting to notice better that Kurds are a wall for against Al-Qaeda, which many Americans consider as their biggest enemy. So it's a good news that news are like this, reports are like this, are appearing. As you also remember, recently CNN International aired a special report how these jihadists easily travel to Turkey, to Istanbul, then they come to Antakya and easily cross. So that's one of the highest point, the climax of the international media, especially CNN, and also Wall Street Journal, New York Times. They have similar reports that Turkey is at least turning a blind eye, maybe not directly supporting, but looking the other way to allow these people, to jihadists, to cross into Syria and launch their war. So I can tell you that generally, at the current station, the media is covering good, and it's very positive.
We asked also about possible results of softened relationships between Iran and USA.
There is recently changing policies. They are thinking, considering to lift the sanctions, the economical sanctions on Iran. And as you know, Iran is the close ally of Assad regime. So when US and West is in good terms with Iran, that affects Assad as well. So even international powers, they softened their tone against Assad. Before, they were saying Assad should go. There is no way Assad is not going to go. But right now they are considering maybe Assad will remain in power, or maybe Assad does not remain, but his system remains in power. So Iran plays a major role, because Iran also showed that they are willing to participate in the Geneva conference if they got an invitation. So it's in favor of Assad regime when the West has good relationship with Iran, because Iran has a power. Iran is a regional power. Iran has a leverage over Assad, Hezbollah, Iraq. So Iran is a strong player. But that might affect Kurdish question in negative way, because Iran at the same time giving some signals to Turkey through Baghdad, Iran, can do something that might hurt Kurds in, short term or mid term. So let's wait and see. We don't know, but there might be some negative results for Kurds if Iran and Turkey and Iran and some other regional countries get so close to each other. So far Kurds Kurds benefited from these problems, Turkey and Syria, Turkey and Iran. So if there is kind of a rapprochement, if these powers get closer, that might create some difficulties for Kurds.
He shared his opinion about how it looks like Turkey's foreign policy from Washington.
Before, in the beginning, many people praised Turkish zero enemy policy. But after Egypt, that collapsed. Now the people are very critical of that policy, that many people think that it's not realistic. It collapsed because Turkey has no friend except Iraqi Kurdistan region. So Turkey's policy, many people think it was big on words, but not in reality. So time has proved that the Turkish policy is really a dream, not realistic. The current time shows us Turkish foreign policy was that Assad will go in 6 months. So all Turkish calculation was based on that. So I can tell you that in Washington, many journalists think Turkish policy collapsed, bankrupted. So in the current position, so it's really no credibility of foreign policy. And only, like I said, only Iraqi Kurdistan region deal. And that's a concern for US, because US is not happy that Turkey and Ankara and Erbil are very close and they are leaving Baghdad outside. That's another concern. That's why America prevented the deal to go through. So that's what I can tell you. It proved that unsuccessful. So Turkey needs some new ways to come up with more realistic foreign policy. That might be with starting, a better approach to Kurds, especially Kurds in Rojava, all components of Kurds Rojava, including PYD, better relationships. But what I see at the moment is, far from this.
Currently, a discussion is going on in Turkey about the education system and test preparation in schools. However, the discussion concerning education and preparation schools occupies only the surface of the discussions and covers a deep power struggle between the Eighth Party and the Gulen movement, which were core partners in power for 12 years. There is no possibility of reaching to democracy in this power struggle. True democracy and a better future for the country can only come as a result of a social movement that is capable of eliminating the current power bloc. Selahattin Demirtas, co-chair of Peace and Democracy Party, pointed out that there is a power struggle going on in the parallel state organization created by the cooperation between the AKP and the Gulen community. The AKP and Gulen community established a new state within the state in coalition. 10,000s of our fellows were imprisoned as a result of this organization, said Demirtas. There is a parallel state in the power struggle, Demirtas said. BDP co-chair Selahattin Demirtas answered the questions of press members in Ahmet on 29th of November, commenting on the conflict between the AKP and the Gulen movement and the leakage of the National Security Council's documents from 2004. Demirtas claimed the Gulen movement was well aware of the national security decision in 2004, signed by the government, and added, "These documents are uncovered after all these years because the conflict has now deepened. This proves how deep the conflicts between the AKP and the Gulen community is. But it remains evident that the AKP and the Gulen community were in a long-standing coalition and established a state within the states in collaboration. There was a parallel state organization between the AKP and the Gulen community, and the current debate was a power struggle between them," and added, "Which governor, head of a district, or rector of chief police can make decisions without consulting the core committee of the Gulen movement? Do those semi-secret organizations hold monthly meetings to decide who will be assigned to which position or not? Do the AKP and the National Intelligence Service know about this or not? All those are parallel state practices. The AKP government knew about all of these. Those practices were not designed to hit or attack the AKP. On the contrary, the AKP was a part of this and cooperated with the community. We have been the party which suffered the most determined from those practices. 10,000 people have been arrested as a result of this parallel state organization.
Turkish government systematically detained, arrested and imprisoned its political opponents. Approximately 8,000 Kurdish politicians and political activists are in prisons. 544 of these prisoners are seriously ill and 162 of them on the verge of death. Turkey. Since the AKP government came to power, the conditions of political prisoners were heavily degraded. Unbelievable, but 14 prisoners died in just second part of 2013. There are still hundreds of prisoners awaiting to death in jails in Turkey. Systematic torture continues too. 12 PKK prisoners from jail of Bingöl have suffered excruciating torture. Prisoners detained in the Boluz jail also denounced their deplorable conditions of detention. Another torture form is CCTV observations. This is officially illegal. There is no any rule regulations about CCTV operating in prisons. This new form of psychological torture is still operating by Sincan Prisoner Administration in Ankara without any legitimacy. Ayla Akat Ata, a member of Peace and Democracy Party, was recently the keynote address to the Turkish National Assembly. She denounced the systematic torture in Turkish prisons in her speech. She asked a parliamentary question to the Ministry of Justice regarding this problem. Associations of families of prisoners and prisoners' rights associations struggle against torture, call for the release of all prisoners suffering from serious illness.
The 8th London Kurdish Film Festival kicked off on November 15th with astonishing 121 films from all four parts of Kurdistan and diaspora. The film festival was organized at the state-of-the-art Picture House Hackney and lasted for 10 days. In all, 23 features, 46 documentaries and 52 short films touch upon such pressing topics as human rights, political struggle, the nation of homeland, the status of women and conflicts of culture, language and identity. Here are some reportages from filmmakers, actors and viewers.
I'm David Meseguer, one of the co-directors of the documentary The Silent Revolution, and I'm also a freelance journalist. More or less 4 years ago, I started to work as a journalist, as a freelance journalist on the Kurdish issue, also in Bakur, in Bashur. And when the Syrian conflict, the Syrian war started, since the beginning, I focused my job in Rojava. So at the beginning, all medias all over the world, all the medias focused their coverage on the clashes between, we can say, between the regime and also the opposition. But just few medias talk about the Kurdish issue in Syria. So when they decided to make the documentary and also to choose the name for the documentary, we choose the Syrian Revolution. Of course, now the situation is a little bit different because of the declaration of unilateral declaration of this step towards autonomy, and also the fight between Kurds and Al-Qaeda groups. Nowadays, the medias are talking about Kurds, but when we decided to make the documentary, just few medias talk about the Kurds. This is the reason for we call the silent revolution.
My name is Laura. I'm one of the judges for the short films in the London Kurdish Film Festival. I think it's a fantastic event. I've been once before, a couple of years ago, and I was definitely kind of the best. I came to the opening night a few years ago and thought, wow, this is the best film festival I've ever been to. Just the atmosphere, the enthusiasm for the films, and such a broad spectrum of recognised directors and then emerging new talent is fantastic, and from all over the world, and for it to happen here in London is great.
I watched a documentary about the Yazidi Kurds, which was almost like some sort of spiritual experience. It taught me so much about the origins of Kurdish culture and Kurdish language and Kurdish history. That was an amazing documentary, Lalish, about Lalish. But my favourite is most definitely so far, I've just come from hosting a documentary about the silent revolution, about the revolution in Rojava. And it was basically made by two Catalan film directors who, the way that they had filmed it was they gave a voice to the Kurdish people in Rojava. In some ways you would have thought it was actually made by a Kurdish director, because they really understood the issues about language, the position of women within Kurdish society. So that was absolutely fantastic, yeah.